New Glenn is a very large, a heavy lift launch vehicle. It'll take about 45 metric tons to LEO, very large class.
This is a huge vehicle. This thing's massive, and it's modern. It's reusable. It's new hardware that's going to be changing the game, and it's going to be the next generation of launch vehicles.
We can go to space for what we need. We'll make it routine, safe, and cost-effective to get there.
We will build the rockets and the destinations for doing real work in space.
Jeff Bezos is up to something massive, and it's not what you think. This time, it's a rocket that could launch NASA's next big mission to Mars. But here's where things get interesting. This rocket, New Glenn, has never been to space, yet it's about to take on one of the most daring missions. Can Blue Origin really pull it off? Or are we about to witness a significant setback in the space race? The rise of New Glenn and its journey. Jeff Bezos isn't just the guy behind Amazon, he's also aiming to conquer space. His company, Blue Origin, has been working on a massive rocket called New Glenn since 2012. It was designed to take on SpaceX, led by Elon Musk, and their successful rockets like Falcon 9 and Starship. But unlike SpaceX, Blue Origin has kept things pretty quiet, which is why New Glenn hasn't made headlines until now. In 2016, Bezos finally revealed the extensive, big first look at New Glenn. We're talking about a rocket taller than the Statue of Liberty. The most exciting part? This rocket is reusable. That means it can land back on Earth and be relaunched, which could save a lot of money for future space missions. It's built to carry up to 45 metric tons of cargo to low Earth orbit, where satellites and space stations hang out. That's a lot of weight. This power comes from 7 BE-4 engines that produce an insane 3.85 million pounds of thrust. To put that into perspective, that's more power than 16 jumbo jets combined. Sounds impressive, right? But here's the catch. Even though New Glenn has been developing for over a decade, it hasn't launched yet. Why? Well, building a rocket like this isn't easy. Blue Origin has faced a lot of challenges along the way. The engines had to be perfect, the technology had to be cutting edge, and safety came first. Testing a rocket of this size takes time, lots of it. While SpaceX has been busy launching and landing rockets, Blue Origin has been taking things a bit slower. Elon Musk's Starship has already gone through multiple test flights, some successful, some not, but at least it's up and running. New Glenn, on the other hand, has been chiefly a series of computer designs and models. The first full-scale model of the rocket's booster was only seen a few years ago. And although there have been some promising tests, the missile still hasn't left the ground. This has led some people to wonder, can Blue Origin really compete with SpaceX? The space industry is brutal, and falling behind can cost millions, even billions of dollars. But Jeff Bezos and his team at Blue Origin are playing the long game. They believe in taking their time to get it right, rather than rushing ahead and risking failure. It's a bit like the tortoise, and the hare, slow and steady, might just win the race. Fast forward to 2024, and things are finally looking up for New Glenn. The big moment is just around the corner. After years of delays, Blue Origin is preparing for the rocket's first launch this fall. And this isn't just any launch, it's a mission to Mars. That's right, New Glenn will carry NASA's Escapade mission to study the red planet's atmosphere and magnetic fields. It's not the most high-stakes mission NASA has ever done, but it's essential, and it's an excellent way for Blue Origin to prove what New Glenn can really do. Why is this launch so significant? Well, it's the first time New Glenn will be tested in space. If the rocket succeeds, it could open up huge opportunities for Blue Origin. They could start launching satellites, astronauts, and even space stations. But if it fails, it could set them back by years and give SpaceX an even bigger lead in the space race. The pressure is on. Blue Origin has invested billions of dollars into this rocket, and all eyes will be on New Glenn as it prepares for its big debut. Will it soar into space and take Blue Origin to the next level? Or will it be another delay in a long line of setbacks? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure. 2024 will be a make-or-break year for Jeff Bezos and his supersized rocket. And with a mission as bold as sending spacecraft to Mars, New Glenn has much to prove. What is the Escapade mission? NASA is always coming up with exciting ways to explore Mars, and the Escapade mission is one of their latest ideas. Escapade stands for Escape and Plasma Acceleration and Dynamics Explorers. Quite a mouthful, right? But here's the simple version. This mission studies how Mars interacts with solar wind, the stream of particles constantly flowing from the sun. Instead of focusing on Mars' surface like past missions with rovers and landers, Escapade will look at the invisible forces surrounding the planet, its magnetosphere. Now let's break it down. Mars doesn't have a strong magnetic field like Earth does. Earth's magnetosphere acts like a shield, protecting us from harmful solar winds. Mars, however, only has a weak, patchy one, which leaves it more exposed to these powerful solar particles. Over time, scientists believe this exposure stripped away much of Mars's atmosphere, turning it from a wet, potentially habitable planet into the dry, cold desert we see today. That's where Escapade comes in. The mission aims to understand exactly how the solar wind interacts with Mars's magnetosphere and its effect on its atmosphere. It's a deep dive into how Mars's climate has changed over billions of years and how much of its atmosphere was lost to space. This kind of research is essential for figuring out whether Mars ever supported life and whether it could happen again. But why should we care about Mars' atmosphere? Well, it holds the key to understanding how the planet changed drastically. Scientists think Mars might have once had lakes, rivers, and maybe even oceans. But those days are long gone. The atmosphere is so thin now that it can't longer support liquid water on the surface. Escapade aims to discover how much of that atmosphere was lost and whether some of it is still being stripped away by the solar wind today. This isn't just about Mars, though. What we learn from Escapade can also help scientists understand how atmospheres work on other planets. For example, if we find an exoplanet, a planet outside our solar system, with a weak magnetosphere like Mars, we could predict whether it might lose its atmosphere over time. This knowledge could guide future space exploration, helping us focus on planets more likely to support life. So how is Escapade going to do all of this? The mission is to use two identical spacecraft that will work together uniquely. These twin spacecraft are designed to fly around Mars in different orbits, gathering data from various angles. This approach will give NASA a 3D view of Mars' magnetosphere for the first time. It's like having two cameras filming the same scene from different spots, providing a complete picture of what's happening. Each spacecraft is packed with special instruments that can measure the solar wind's energy and how it affects Mars' magnetic field and atmosphere. By comparing the data from both spacecraft, scientists will get a much clearer idea of how these forces shape Mars' climate. This is a groundbreaking step in planetary science and could teach us more about Mars and how solar wind and magnetospheres work on other planets. Escapade's twin spacecraft approach is a first for Mars missions, and it's a bold move by NASA. The mission won't be sending back pictures of the surface or looking for water, but it will provide crucial data about how Mars became the planet we know today. And the best part? The results could change the way we think about planets across the galaxy. So while Escapade might not be as flashy as landing a rover, it's a game changer in understanding the forces that shape Mars, and maybe even the forces shaping other worlds. Why New Glenn for Escapade? So why did NASA choose New Glenn, a rocket that hasn't yet flown, for the Escapade mission to Mars? It's all thanks to NASA's Venture Class Acquisition of Dedicated and Rideshare (VADR) program. This program is designed to match lower-risk missions with new rockets still being tested. Escapade doesn't carry expensive rovers or high-stakes equipment, so it's a great fit for testing out New Glenn. Think of it as a test drive for Blue Origin's new rocket. The interesting part? Escapade's two spacecraft are small. Each one weighs about 550 kilograms, about the size of a compact car. Now, New Glenn is a giant in comparison. It's designed to carry up to 45 metric tons to low Earth orbit, way more than Escapade needs. So in a sense, using New Glenn for this mission is like using a semi-truck to deliver a couple of bicycles. But there's a reason behind this mismatch. Even though New Glenn is way bigger than what Escapade needs, this mission gives Blue Origin a perfect chance to show what their rocket can do. It's low risk for NASA because if something goes wrong, it won't be a massive loss. And it's an ample opportunity for Blue Origin to prove their rocket's capabilities. This is a significant milestone for New Glenn, and if it's successful, it could open up more opportunities for the rocket in the future. But there's a catch. Time is running out. The window to launch Escapade to Mars is tight. Earth and Mars only align for this type of mission once every 26 months. If New Glenn isn't ready by the fall of 2024, the mission will have to wait until late 2026. That's a 2-year delay, costing more money and slowing down the mission's progress and Blue Origin's ambitions in space. This makes the Escapade mission critical for Blue Origin. It's not just about getting to Mars, it's about proving that New Glenn is ready for prime time. If the rocket succeeds, it could pave the way for more extensive and critical future missions. It could be a significant setback if it fails or misses the window, especially in the heated competition with SpaceX. All eyes are on New Glenn now. Can it rise to the challenge and help launch Escapade on time? Or will delays continue to haunt Blue Origin? The clock is ticking. The science behind Escape. The Escapade mission isn't just about sending spacecraft to Mars. It's about unlocking the secrets of the planet's atmosphere. You might be wondering why this matters. Well, Mars wasn't always the dry, cold desert we see today. Scientists believe Mars had a much thicker atmosphere billions of years ago that could support rivers, lakes, and maybe even oceans. But over time, something happened, and much of that atmosphere was stripped away. Escapade aims to figure out exactly how that process unfolded. One of the key things Escapade will study is the effect of solar wind on Mars's atmosphere. Solar wind is a constant stream of charged particles flowing from the sun at high speeds. We're lucky on Earth to have a strong magnetic field that protects us from these solar winds. But Mars, not so much. With its weak magnetic field, Mars is exposed to the full force of the solar wind, and over billions of years, that has likely caused a significant portion of its atmosphere to be blown away into space. Escapade will provide data that helps scientists understand how fast this process is still happening today. By studying the interaction between solar wind and Mars' thin atmosphere, the mission will allow scientists to model how much of the planet's atmosphere was lost over time. This will help answer big questions about what Mars was like in the past and how it became the barren planet we see now. But there's more to this than just understanding Mars' past. Escapade's data will also be crucial for future Mars missions, especially if we send humans there. Mars's thin atmosphere is one of the biggest challenges in landing people on Mars and keeping them alive. Knowing how solar wind continues to strip away what's left of it will help future missions better plan what to expect and how to protect astronauts. And it's not just about Mars. What Escapade finds could also teach us about the habitability of planets beyond our solar system. If we can understand how solar wind and weak magnetic fields affect a planet's atmosphere, we can use that knowledge when studying exoplanets, those planets orbiting other stars. This is a big deal because it can help us figure out which planets are more likely to be able to support life. Another fascinating part of this mission is how it will help scientists understand what happened to all of Mars' water. We know from past missions that Mars once had water flowing on its surface. Dried up riverbeds and lake basins suggest Mars was once much wetter. Escapade will help refine our understanding of how much of Mars' water was lost to space through atmospheric escape. At the same time, scientists hope to learn how much water might still be locked away beneath the planet's surface, perhaps as ice or liquid in underground reservoirs. In a way, Escapade is like a detective story, trying to piece together clues about what happened to Mars over billions of years. By understanding how solar wind affected Mars' atmosphere and water, the mission will help answer some of the biggest questions about the red planet's past and its potential for supporting life. So while Escapade may not be as flashy as landing a rover or drilling into Mars' surface, its science is just as important. It's about understanding Mars as a whole, its past, its present, and what that means for its future. What's next for Blue Origin and space exploration? So what's in store for Blue Origin and their massive New Glenn rocket after the Escapade mission? If New Glenn successfully launches the twin spacecraft to Mars, it could be a massive moment for Blue Origin. This wouldn't just prove they can build a rocket, but show the world that Blue Origin is ready to play in the big leagues of space exploration. But Escapade is just the beginning. One of Blue Origin's most ambitious projects is Orbital Reef. This plan involves building a commercial space station in low Earth orbit. Imagine a floating business park where companies could rent space for research, tourism, and more. If New Glenn proves it can launch heavy payloads like the modules for Orbital Reef, it could become the go-to rocket for building things in space. That's a big deal, especially as NASA plans to retire the International Space Station in the coming years. But it doesn't stop there. Blue Origin also has its sights set on the moon. They've been working on a lander called Blue Moon that could deliver cargo and eventually astronauts to the lunar surface. NASA has already selected Blue Origin as one of the companies that could help with future moon missions, especially as part of their Artemis program, which aims to return humans to the moon. If New Glenn succeeds with Escapade, it could pave the way for future moon landings using the same rocket. Now let's talk about the competition. While Blue Origin is making some big moves, they're still playing catch-up to SpaceX. Elon Musk's company has dominated the space race with its Falcon rockets and the much-anticipated Starship. SpaceX has been launching rockets regularly, while Blue Origin is just getting started with New Glenn. But here's where things get interesting. If New Glenn can launch successfully and show that it's reliable, it could become a serious competitor to SpaceX. SpaceX has been focusing heavily on Starship, a next-generation rocket designed to take humans to Mars and beyond. But Starship has faced its own delays and challenges. If New Glenn can make a flawless debut, it might grab the attention of companies and space agencies looking for a reliable, heavy-lift rocket. Blue Origin could become a major player in NASA missions and private companies wanting to launch satellites, build space stations, or even send tourists to space. The bigger picture here isn't just about rockets, it's about the future of the space economy. We're heading into a new era where space isn't just for governments and agencies like NASA. Private companies are getting involved in a big way. There's talk of space tourism, asteroid mining, and even colonizing other planets. Whoever controls the most reliable rockets will play a key role in shaping the future of space exploration. Blue Origin knows this, and they're betting on New Glenn to help them lead the charge. But can Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin catch up to Elon Musk and SpaceX? That's the billion-dollar question. SpaceX has a head start right now, but the space race is far from over. If New Glenn delivers on its promises, Blue Origin could become a top contender in the new space economy. A lot is riding on the success of the Escapade mission, not just for NASA, but for Blue Origin's future. Only time will tell if New Glenn will become the rocket that propels Blue Origin into the next frontier, or if they'll continue playing catch-up. The space race is heating up, and the stakes have never been higher. The Escapade mission to Mars is a huge leap in space exploration, and New Glenn could be the rocket that makes it happen. But will Jeff Bezos' ambitious rocket meet the challenge? What do you think? Can New Glenn deliver on time? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love staying updated on space news, be sure to hit subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.